and welcome to the briefing room. I'm Madhavdas G. It's the biggest disclosure yet in India's Operation Sindoor against Pakistan. General Anil Chauhan, who was serving as the Chief of Defence Staff during Operation Sindoor, has now detailed how Pakistan's nuclear site, the Kirana Hills, may have been struck. The former Chief of Defence Staff has now revealed how loitering munitions was sent towards Sargodha in Pakistan, where he says that a loitering munition may have struck Pakistan's Kirana Hills. He says that Kirana Hills is roughly just about 10 kilometers north of Sargodha, which was the intended target. Listen in to this big disclosure coming in from General Anil Chauhan.
At occasions it's been asked whether Kirana Hills were hit or not. That's where their nuclear facilities are there. For those strikes, we had sent in a lot of loiter ammunitions at Sargodha. And Kirana Hills is about 10 kilometers north of Sargodha. So the loiter ammunition is looking for radars which are in and around Sargodha. And it's got a lifetime, means time. It will loiter for about 2 hours, and once it doesn't find a target, then it comes down and hits somewhere. It must have come and hit, one of those hills. So that could be one of the reasons as to what people asked. Yes, because Pakistani media also showed some kind of images in which there was smoke coming out from Kirana Hills, and they were asking.
Now, it's very important to understand why this revelation matters, and for that, let's once again remind you about the significance of these Kirana Hills. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about a mountain range in Pakistan's Sargodha district, which is designated, in terms of an area which is under Pakistan's Ministry of Defense. It's referred to as the Black Mountains due to its dark appearance. It is very much part of Pakistan's Air Force base. Let's quickly get in the next set of graphics. It's referred to the entire dark appearance and also the fact that it's the Mushaf Air Force base that this is very much a part of. It's very close to Sargodha Air Base and the Kushab nuclear complex. It reportedly houses over 10 underground tunnels, and these tunnels are reportedly used to store Pakistan's nuclear warheads. Let's also remind you how back when the air operations were underway, the Indian Air Force didn't divulge much about Kirana Hills. Listen in to what the Director General of Air Force Operations then said during Operation Sindoor.
Thank you for telling us that Kirana Hill houses some nuclear installation. We did not know about it. Okay. And we've not hit Kirana Hills, whatever is there. Okay. I did not brief in my briefing yesterday. Thank you.
Let me introduce our panelists. Joining us, with us is Tom Cooper, military analyst. With us also is Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat, and Air Marshal RGK Kapoor, of course, retired defense expert. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Tom Cooper, to begin with you, what do you make of the CDS's revelation? You are one of the first persons to say that India has indeed struck at Kirana Hills. What do you make of the manner in which it has been explained by the Chief of Defence Staff of India?
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me. For what am I making from this, I still do not understand where is the problem to admit that there was a strike on Kirana Hills, because Pakistan has never officially, or at least not in the last 10 years, officially admitted that this is a nuclear weapon storage site. Because theoretically, at least, and practically, Pakistan is obliged to report any such site to India, and the other way around. India is doing the same to Pakistan. So if Pakistan is keeping any kind of nuclear weapons down there, but hiding them and not making this official, then, well, then I understand the Chief Marshal who says we didn't know there are any kind of nuclear weapons there, because this is sarcasm. And he says, if you don't tell us there are nuclear weapons there, then we don't know there are nuclear weapons there. But I don't understand Honorable retired CDS who says, well, there was some loitering ammunition flying around. The Pakistani video, which you are showing in the background, is clearly showing, the entire video is clearly showing white contrails coming down. This is, and from very high. This is not a profile used by loitering ammunition. And loitering ammunition in Indian service is also equipped with or powered by piston engines. So it's not releasing such contrails at lower altitude. So there was obviously a missile strike, not a loitering ammunition. Excuse me for expression. I cannot but wonder why all of this reluctance to explain the obvious.
Okay, so you're saying something like a harop which has a range of about 200 kilometers, and this spot is about 180 kilometers from the Indian border. You're saying there is no possibility that it could be an Israeli harop?
I do not see this as being an Israeli harop, or at least the strike being undertaken. You see this video; it's a powerful explosion. It's a massive explosion. It's not something that is caused by harop. That is at least my opinion. I'm no expert in this regard, so take it with reservation if you like.
Right. Very, very important factors that you mentioned, Tom Cooper. Let me also quickly bring in our defense experts. In fact, let me bring in Mr. Kapoor. What do you make of what Tom has said? He says he believes that this could potentially be a missile strike and not some kind of loitering munition, Marshal Kapoor, as is being suggested by CDS or former CDS Anil Chauhan.
Good evening, Madhav, and thank you for having me on the show. First of all, while Sindur was on, I had very categorically said that while there was a lot of debate whether India would strike Kirana Hills or not, I was very clear that India will not strike any nuclear installation. Our mutual exchange of nuclear facilities obviously includes only some facilities and not all facilities. But be that as may be, the fact is that India, the objective of this war or conflict was not expanding conventional into a nuclear domain. And any major deliberate strike on any nuclear facility would be very, very escalatory. And so I'm quite clear that it was not an intentional strike. And I think what the CDS has done is he has put to rest the speculation and the debate which has gone on for more than a year on what it is. And it is also a kind of a positive message to Pakistan that, yes, if there was a doubt in many people's mind that whether it was deliberate or not, it was not deliberate. The second point is that, Kirana Hills are about 21 kilometers, 22 kilometers from Sargodha. And so a deliberate strike it has to be a deliberate strike if it has to be. Whereas the deliberate strike was on Sargodha. So I think we are very clear. I think I'm very clear in my mind that India did not want any escalation into the nuclear domain. And the strike was on Sargodha in terms of a BrahMos strike. And this statement by the former CDS, his credibility has been established earlier also, where he in Singapore accepted that yes, there were some losses. So I think what he says today puts to rest a lot of speculation and a lot of debate.
Right. But, it's interesting that you mentioned his Singapore statement, because Mr. Ashok Sajanar would remember the kind of ruffling of feathers that happened at that point of time as well, Mr. Ashok Sajanar. If you could take us through that. And number two, at the end of the day, is this the real turning point of the entire conflict that forced Pakistan to pick up the phone and call Uncle Sam? That, look here, you better save us, otherwise we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so two very important questions, Madhav. Thank you very much for having me on your show. You're right. I think we all remember what happened in Singapore, because I remember speaking to CDS General Anil Chauhan after that, and he said that, I can't now remember the expression that he used, but the impression that he gave is that he was quite taken aback by this, and he sort of said something which he was not very certain whether he should have said it at that time or not. But it has always been India's policy. We have not said that there were, we maintained even in our briefings that when there is war, there are bound to be losses. So, there was nothing very, earth-shaking that he did mention at that particular point of time. And this reminds me also what happened, and that is very much in the news these days with Safed Sagar, how on 4th July 1999, Mr. Nawaz Sharif had dashed to the United States on the Independence Day of United States. It had asked India that India should step back and not, continue the conflict as far as the Kargil war is concerned. And here also they sort of, were both coming to India on the morning of the 10th of May and also reaching out to the United States to persuade India to not to take it forward. But I think our credentials have been and our credibility has been more than adequately established because we knew, this is what we had said even on the 7th of May, Madhav, that our intention was basically to hit at the terrorist sites, which we did on the first 2 days. But when the scope of the conflict was expanded by Pakistan, then we started hitting out also at their air bases and the military bases. It was never our intention to escalate the conflict, to take it to the nuclear level, and we made this very, very clear that the limits of our operations, we had limited objectives, and once they were achieved, we had no problem, even on the 7th.
Absolutely.
We had no problem in stepping back.
Yeah, and I must ask Tom Cooper this question. Tom Cooper, one of the things that Operation Sindoor clearly exposed was calling out Pakistan's nuclear bluff, because at the drop of the hat, Pakistan says there will be thermonuclear war, everything will go out of hand, so on and so forth. In this case, even with Kirana Hills being hit, they couldn't do much. And I think that's where Pakistan stands exposed today.
Absolutely, at least from India's point of view. We shouldn't forget that Pakistani official version is nothing happened, we won the war, it was a fantastic victory, and so on and so on. And they have returned to issuing threats at nuclear retaliation ever since. But matter of fact is this, and I highly respect gentlemen like Marshal Kapoor. We never met in person, but I highly respect them because I've read so much about them. But I really do not understand why is this not pointed out. Nobody in New Delhi, nobody in the high commands of the Indian Armed Forces, in the Indian Air Force, would come to the idea to shoot around some loitering ammunition around Kirana Hills, and then by accident some have hit, oh gosh, just by accident, precisely above the two entrances to the underground facilities. Excuse me for laughing now, because I cannot but chuckle at least, because this is not happening by accident. This cannot happen by accident. The radar station atop of Kirana Hills was also not hit by accident. And the video is crystal clear. So if there are missiles, there was a strike. And this strike was absolutely clear in terms of its message to not only to Islamabad, but to everybody else. This far and not a step further, because we shouldn't forget the context in which this drama was developing. Pakistanis that morning of 10th of May last year, Pakistanis were lining up and shooting whatever they could at India. And everything they were shooting was shot down, including several ballistic missiles. So at some point in time, enough was enough. And okay, let's call it an accident, but pure distilled accident. Precise at that point in time, India hits Kirana Hills. What an accident. Sorry, I'm not buying this. I understand the gentlemen that they are cautious, that the message is de-escalation, not escalation.
Okay.
But evidence is clear in terms of what has been hit. That is my point.
Okay. Marshal Kapoor, are we being overcautious in our statements? Perhaps, maintaining some plausible deniability there with a calibrated statement?
I don't think so. Basically, my argument is in 2 or 3 points. First is our conventional strike on the Pakistan Air Force Air Defense, shooting down of their AEW&C, and their strikes on the air bases were powerful enough of a message that we could take on any target anywhere in Pakistan to disable them and disable their air force. Their air force did not fly after 8th of May, primarily because of the offensive AD of India. Their entire offensive posture was neutralized by our air defense. And so I do not see any reason for us to up the ante to a point where we would like to target a nuclear installation. And while, DGAO could have said that, I do not know what are we talking about, but I think open source enough information is there to tell us that Kirana Hills is a storage site for Sargodha. So if I just go by the basic, objectives that we set out for ourselves, and which are in consonance with the political objectives and the strategic objectives. I do not see anywhere in this whole chain of objectives and air campaign planning where there would be a need to up the ante where we are already having an upper hand. So the message has already been very clearly given to Pakistan that all your bases are within our reach. And so to strike a nuclear facility, I do not see any plausible option or an argument to say we would do that to send a message.
Right. And let me bring in Mr. Ashok Sajanar on that point. Ashok Sajanar, very clear message going out unequivocally that all Pakistan's key military bases are very much within India's reach. And what's more interesting, actually, what I found is that, that one statement of General Chauhan where he mentions that Sargodha was also under the radar. It was only because of bad weather that ultimately Sargodha was not actioned. And Sargodha is very important because that's an area where India has not struck before. That's also an area from where Pakistan planned, perpetrated, executed the Kargil war as well.
No, absolutely. I think we are coming back to Kargil over and over again because of, what has happened, what happened last year. But I think it was very clear. We were very clear in our mind as to what we wanted to achieve. And escalation was definitely not what we are looking for because basically, Madhav, I think we really need to look at it. The Russia-Ukraine conflict started, everyone said it's going to be over in week, 10 days, 2 weeks, etc. You look at how it is going. It's easy to start a war. You saw what happened on October 7, 2023. After that, Gaza. Gaza has still not been settled. You see also, meaning, of course, this has happened much later, the Iran, US, etc. There also, what Mr. Trump was expecting is that he will do another Venezuela. He'll find another Delcy Rodriguez here in Iran, and everything will be running smoothly. That has not happened. It is it's about 6 months now, and there is no end in sight. So I think now we know that the time of short wars possibly might be over. And you can start a war, but how you finish it, that, at times goes out of your hands. So we were very, very clear as to where we wanted that conflict to go, basically to destroy their terrorist bases, destroy their military assets, send out a very clear, strong message that we have total control over your skies. And, there is nothing that you can do. And once I think that message was comprehensively delivered, there was no reason for, either continuing the war or to expanding the war, continuing the war in terms of more time, as there was a demand in India that we should have gone, we should have sort of, hit at some places or the other. There was I think our objectives, military objectives were very clear. Once they were achieved, we sort of, stood back on that.
Absolutely. And Tom Cooper, I think that's a very, very interesting point. At a time when we're looking at these wars of attrition, seemingly endless wars that are taking place, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, whether we're talking about US, Iran, this is a war that was fought and a message very decisively delivered within the span of about 72 hours, which forced Pakistan's hand.
Well, that is precisely the point. In Ukraine, Russia has no clear aim, or actually it has an aim, destruction of Ukraine as a nation, even as a memory, but it is based on absolutely unrealistic intelligence and presumptions. Therefore, the entire outcome of the war is unrealistic, and therefore Russia cannot win. Doesn't mean that Ukraine can win or something else, but Russia cannot win this war. In Iran, we see the Americans and Israelis also launching a war on basis of fabrications, lies, and fantasies, and thinking they are going to target the regime, and in a matter of 3 days, this regime is going to collapse, and they're going to win, and it's going to be a super turbo, splendid victory, and whatever else. 3 days special military operation, just like for Putin in Ukraine.
Right.
It didn't work because this was unrealistic. Okay. And in India and Pakistan, we have a fundamentally different situation. India has told Pakistan right from the start. There was a call from New Delhi to Islamabad, just 1 hour or something after the retaliation strikes on terror camps.
Right.
We do not intend to target your army. We are targeting. This is a retaliation strike on your terror camps.
True.
And Pakistan wouldn't listen. Pakistan didn't listen for the next 3 days. It started listening only once all of a sudden there was fire, smoke above Kirana Hills.
Absolutely.
And then also Washington started listening, all of a sudden. So I said,
who can forget those special American planes with those Giga counters that were flying around that area?
Whatever it was, I respect the gentleman in New Delhi, really. I respect Prime Minister, CDS current and the past retired. Everything is fine. Really, no bad feelings. But the videos are obvious, and the result is almost obvious. Somebody there, right after that attack, that was at 6 o'clock in the morning, sorry, at 9 o'clock, there was already somebody on the telephone from Islamabad to New Delhi. Could we, after all, talk about stopping this? Not ceasefire, but at least stopping this, break it or pause it or whatever.
Right.
So for me, the situation is crystal clear.
All right. Tom Cooper, Ashok Sajanhar, Air Marshal R.G.K. Kapoor, I'd like to thank all three of you gentlemen for joining us, explaining to us the context, the implications, the circumstances that now are increasingly becoming clear a little over a year after Operation Sindoor took place. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to another very important story. What's the point of conviction in a rape case if the convict will keep getting parole after parole or furlough every few weeks? What message is being sent out by the system to citizens of this country? These questions are being raised because once again, Dera Sacha Sauda chief Gurmeet Ram Rahim has been granted 21 days of furlough. He's serving a 20-year prison sentence. He was convicted by a special CBI court in 2017 for raping two women disciples at the Dera Sacha Sauda headquarters in Sirsa. Remember, these reports of rampage by his supporters even after he was convicted. According to reports, 36 to 38 people were killed, 152 cases were filed, and all the accused have received acquittal in 132 of the cases. There were visuals of arson, vandalization and chaos. Miscreants torched fire brigades, media OB vans, school buses, and at least 29 buildings were damaged. From Panchkula, the violence spread to Sirsa and other parts of Haryana, Punjab, and even the national capital. Let's now take you through the facts of the Ram Rahim rape case. What really transpired? In 1991 to 2002, two followers have alleged rape. There was a verdict in which he was convicted by the CBI court. A sentence in that particular verdict led to 20 years in jail for Ram Rahim. The charge was section 376 of the IPC, which is rape. The fine there was 30 lakh rupees. But this is the 17th time that he has been allowed to walk out of jail since 2020. Let's take you through the timeline, what exactly has been allowed. Now, it is whether it was 2026, 2025, or even 2021, several years where, or several occasions where he has obtained either parole or furlough. Let's take you through all of these years, whether it's 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 25, or 26. Let's take a look at what really was the amount in terms of the actual time that he spent inside the jail in all of these years. How much time did he get outside? In 2020, it was 1 day that he got in terms of parole. Little more the next year in 2021, it was 12 hours. A little less, in fact, 12 hours in the year 2021. But, ladies and gentlemen, and this number will shock you with its uniformity. Nothing about this case appears shocking anymore because we've been reporting about this, yet you as viewers need to know. From 2022 to the year 2026, each and every year, 91 days. 91 days in 2022, 91 days whether it is 2023, every single year, 91 days of parole or furlough have been granted to this individual. What does this uniformity in the number tell you? This uniformity in the number tells you that there is a very clear set of people who want this individual to get parole every single year. And that really is the larger question. Temporary release since 2020, raising serious questions about whether this is mockery of the system. Will any other convict be granted this kind of relief, and that too this frequently? Because his release is also linked with the upcoming Punjab Assembly elections next year. His followers are spread across Haryana and Punjab. The Congress party, meanwhile, has launched a scathing attack on the BJP for this relief to Ram Rahim. Let's take you through what the Congress is saying. The Congress essentially says that BJP sheds crocodile tears over Nari Shakti. BJP is anti-women, they allege. A rapist-friendly party is in fact getting this kind of a relief. Also, that this country needs to be freed from BJP for women's safety. That's the allegation. He's also spent 450 days out of jail since 2016. This is Pawan Kheda of the Congress party. Meanwhile, the Samajwadi Party has slammed the BJP for being soft on rape convicts like Rahim, the Neta of the party in power in Punjab, as well as Aam Aadmi Party saying that Supreme Court should take cognizance. Listen in to what these parties are saying.
Why so much love and affection with the rapist? Why so much respect they have with the rapist? They says Beti Bachao, Beti Badhao, and the rapists are being worshipped. And if you go to his, I'm told if you go to his Rahim, this ashram, you would see all kind of big sort of BJP lying there. So this is the real picture of Bharatiya Janata Party government.
We also got a reaction from Anshul Chhatrapati, son of late journalist Ramchandra Chhatrapati, who was shot in 2002, months after he had published a series of anonymous letters documenting allegations of sexual assault of the disciples at Dera Sacha Sauda in Sirsa. Rahim was sentenced to life imprisonment in the murder of Ramchandra Chhatrapati. But earlier this year, Punjab and Haryana High Court acquitted Rahim in the 2002 murder case. Listen into Anshul.
मेरी बजाय बेहतर होगा कि ये सरकारी तंत्र से, सरकारी सिस्टम से किया जाए। मीडिया पूछे जा करके, सूबे के मुखिया से पूछे, उस सरकारी सिस्टम से पूछे जिसके मुंह पर हर बार तमाचा मारा जाता है गुरमीत राम रहीम द्वारा, जो एक आदतन अपराधी मैं कहूँगा।
BJP leader Ashok Vajpayee said that the decision to grant a parole to a convict who has applied for it lies with the court. These are it, that his party accepts the judiciary's decision.